You sounded great. Do it all over again now.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Laura González Bosch. I'm honored to be the new director of the Biomedical Sciences Graduate Program, from now on, BSGP. It is my pleasure to welcome you on behalf of the administration and faculty of the BSGP to the celebration of our program's graduates. It is my honor to preside this virtual ceremony to celebrate the conferment of the Master of Science and Doctor of Philosophy degrees. I'd like to start by thanking the members of the organizing committee, Maskan Florin, Rihanna Pojrel, Kimberly Gastos, Maximo Santa Rosa, Natalie Pinkowski, Miriam Valenzuela, Lucy Shalinkova, Adrian Luna, and Lindsay Bulk. I also like to thank Dr. Nancy Kanagi, former BSGP director and Senior Associate Dean of Research Education, Dr. Tom Resta, current Senior Associate Dean of Research Education, the School of Medicine Research Education Office staff, Lisa Kirk, Tara Hackel, Virginia Villegas, Thomas Hemsin for planning and coordinating this event, and College of Pharmacy Marketing Manager, Jose Rodriguez, and School of Medicine Marketing Manager, Brigitte Warner-Schons for technical support. All of you made this ceremony possible. Class of 2020, today is a day of celebration to celebrate the major accomplishments of obtaining your graduate degree after working so hard to get to the finish line. You probably sacrificed hours of joy to get to this point, but at the end, it was worth it. Today is a day of thanks, to thank those who helped you get to the finish line, that nurture you, taught you, mentor you, support you, and listen to you, since you didn't win this race alone. Finally, today is a day of reflection, because today a chapter of your life ends and a new one is about to start. Congratulations, class 2020. I now want to introduce Dr. Marta Magru, MD, Family Medicine Physician, and Dean of the School of Medicine. She will say a few words.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Yes, good. Well, what a pleasure to be here, and congratulations, everyone. This is indeed a big moment in your lives. It was a true pleasure to be here last year for the inaugural ceremony of the BSGP, and it was so meaningful to see sort of the culmination of your career and the research you've done while you're here. If any of you happen to read the newsletter that I sent out this month, you know that I often run into Bryce Chakarian on my evening walks with my dogs. In the time of COVID, we've gotten to know everybody in the neighborhood. And not only is it really a personal pleasure to get to know people in a new way, but it also gives me an opportunity, and I hope it gives Dr. Chakarian an opportunity to discuss science, vaccines, and how the work of scientists at UNM are so critical to the health of our institution, but more importantly, important to the health of our community and to the world. You save lives. It sounds simple when we're using bigger words all the time, like autophagy and genomics and MHC class 2 transactivators. But the bottom line is that scientists save lives by preventing illness via vaccines, and they save lives and decrease morbidity with the development of drugs like remdesivir, all by learning about diseases at the molecular level, at a clinical level, and at a population level. I want to read you a couple of paragraphs from a column recently written by Biswas in Health and Medicine, because I think it describes exactly the importance of scientists during a time like this. We now have an enemy that we cannot see and that we do not know much about, speaking of COVID. How do we fight such an enemy? The only way is to study and learn more about it, what it wants, what it does in order to survive, and where its weaknesses lie. And that is where science plays a significant role. The COVID-19 pandemic has brought to our attention how building up scientific temperament and propagation of scientific culture are critically important to tackling a pandemic of this scale. The knowledge so acquired can help us understand the very basics of disease process, helping us make progress in treating and preventing it. And one of my favorite lines from this column, researchers around the world have embarked upon an almost undeclared joint venture. They have proceeded at breakneck speed to decipher and target various aspects of the virus in an attempt to find ways of limiting the infection, stopping its spread, and eventually devising a potential cure for COVID-19. End of that column. Those researchers are basic science researchers like many of you. They're also mathematicians and computer scientists who model probabilities and spread. And there are social science researchers in health disparities and health services who study racism practices and social determinants of health that have led to disproportionate disease in this pandemic in our Native and African American populations. Not because they're Native or African American, but because of disenfranchisement, lack of equity in education, jobs, clean water, safe living conditions, and because of marginalization. We need research and science at every level to make the world better for everyone. The scientists who are studying COVID are like our emergency docs, critical care docs, and infectious disease docs. Like Dr. Roth was always a part of disaster medicine, you are part of disaster research. It's easy sometimes, though, in the midst of a pandemic to forget to remember that we still have cancer, we still have heart disease, neurological diseases. And to those of you who continue to attend to learning about and developing treatments for those, a very big thank you. I love the enthusiasm of scientists energized by their work, of having a question, which is the most important part of learning, is knowing what you don't know, and then discovering the answer, or the next information that we need to move the field forward. Some speak of being saved by miracles. I say science is the miracle. This year has been extraordinary, and I don't have to tell you that. That you are Zoom graduating in the midst of this is a testament to both you and your teachers and mentors and the staff. To each of your mentors, I say a big thank you. The work that has been done publicly and behind the scenes by all of our faculty and our staff has been tremendous. The faculty and staff do it because they know the importance of science, discovery and application that will make our world better. They do it because when it matters, this undeclared joint venture, this coming together across boundaries and silos is more important than any individual's accomplishment or role. We all do science because it saves lives and improves health and quality of life. I want to say a big thank you to Dr. Nancy Carnegie, who was really involved in the establishment of the Office of Research Education and was the first Senior Associate Dean. She actually created this ceremony last year, and what a beautiful, wonderful, and meaningful ceremony it is. Thank you to Dr. Tom Resta, the new Senior Associate Dean for and Dr. Laura Gonzalez-Bosch, who stepped in with grace and skills and just took this on. There was no wading in the shallow water in this transition. It was jumping off a diving board into the deep end of the pool. Of course, thanks to Dr. Ford for his leadership in the Office of Research, and to Tara Hackle, Lisa Kirk, Thomas Hemsing, Cassandra Meisner, Virginia Viejas, for all of their work in getting this done, and to Bridget Wagner-Jones for enabling us to have this kind of ceremony. Finally, again, thank you so much and congratulations on your graduation. Thank you for everything you do in the world. The pandemic has only emphasized that you are a piece of the critical professional workforce as scientists saving lives. Now we get to go on with the ceremony.
Thank you, Dr. Magru, for the kind support for the basic scientists. Next, I'm going to present the faculty awards. We like to recognize Bryce Chikerian, PhD, for receiving the 2020 Biomedical Sciences Graduate Student Society Outstanding Mentor Award. Is Bryce there?
Thanks, Laura.
Congratulations, Dr. Chikerian.
Thanks, Laura, and thanks for the students. I'd like to thank all the graduate students and particularly the students in my laboratory for this really wonderful honor. One of the aspects of working at UNM that I find really rewarding is watching students grow as independent scientists and I'm really pleased to be able to contribute to that process. So thanks again, and congratulations to all the graduates today.
Thank you. It is now my pleasure to recognize Nancy Kanagi, PhD, for the contributions that she made to the School of Medicine Research Education programs. She was instrumental in the creation of the office 2 years ago, as pointed out by Dr. Magru.
Thank you, Laura, and thank you to all the other members of the BSG program for this recognition. Directing the Biomedical Sciences graduate program and being part of the team that conceived of and launched the Research Education Office was really an honor. It was gratifying and motivating to be involved with this program. And although the past spring semester was challenging, maybe one of the more challenging of my faculty career, guiding this program has been one of the most rewarding of my career. Seeing students grow in so many ways is one of the greatest compensations of being a faculty member at an academic medicine institution. I will continue to support this program in any way that I can, and I thank you again for letting me be part of the program and part of this ceremony today. Congratulations and best wishes to all of our graduates, and congratulations to the members of the Research Education Office for putting this together, this important event for all of the members of our biomedical sciences graduate community. Thank you.
Congratulations, Nancy. We also want to recognize Dr. Robert Rubin, PhD, for his contributions to the School of Medicine Research Education programs. Dr. Rubin served as a chair of the qualifying exam committee for 6 years and directed the immunology course for 17 years, serving 279 students.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez-Bosque. I just wanted to make a few remarks about the value of teaching that I discovered while I was here at UNM. Because before I came to UNM, I had maybe over 20 years of purely academic research career with essentially no experience in teaching. And when I was asked to contribute to teaching here at UNM Biomed 514, I soon discovered that trying to explain immunologic concepts or phenomena to a heterogeneous class of students forced me to acknowledge to myself that I didn't really understand the broad subject matter very well. So this realization reminded me why I appreciated college and graduate school so much. Finally, I thought then, in contrast to most of my, as I remember, high school teachers, university teachers really know what they're talking about. So to be a legitimate member of this group, I needed to up my game. And it took several years of classes of being challenged by students, and most critically, being challenged by myself, that I began to feel confident that I was beginning to do a decent job. For me, though, it wasn't primarily lecturing skills that I concentrated on, which admittedly I'm still not very good at, but it was the material, the subject matter that I needed to truly understand. And with a subject matter as complex as immunology, in which mechanistic sort of logical explanations often take a backseat to the reality of evolutionary pressures underlying how the immune system works, it was necessary not only to become competent with details, but also to explain immunologic processes as the accidental outcome of 50 million years of Darwinian evolution. So this reality check helped me understand the subject of immunology in a more profound way. And so in the end, if it weren't for having to teach this subject to a new class of graduate students every year, I would still, I think, have a superficial understanding of the broad scope of immunology. In a very real way, then, I owe you, you graduate students, and your predecessor graduate students, my gratitude for forcing me to really learn the subject of immunology. So when you or someone else gives a lecture on a research project, be prepared to challenge or accept being challenged on the deeper significance of the underlying science. And in the end, learning how to explain scientific phenomena in a classroom setting is the closest to a real test for the true understanding of the subject. So thank you again for this recognition and congratulations on your graduation.
Thank you, Robert, Rubin, for your support. This plaque with both Drs. Kanagi and Rubin's name will be on display at the School of Medicine Research Education Office and also will serve to recognize future contributors. It is now time to recognize the entire BSGP student body by cohort year. Their selected representative will share the many accomplishments and lasting contributions their cohort has made. So it's my pleasure to first introduce Miriam Valenzuela. She will be presenting the 2019 cohort and TA awards. Miriam.
Hi everyone. So yes, my name is Miriam and it's a tremendous honor to represent the 2019 cohort. I would like to consider our cohort to be characterized by being very proactive and very involved in the student body. As such, we have attended more than 5 conferences and presented over 10 times at these conferences, including BSGP Research Day and Shared Knowledge Conference. Additionally, in terms of being proactive, we have participated in BSGP interviews and BSGP orientation, and also partake in national organizations such as SACNAS, or the Society for the Advancement of Chicanos, Hispanics, and Native Americans in Science. Additionally, this first year was characterized by the trials and tribulations of passing classes and finding a lab that we call home. And this wouldn't have been possible without the TAs that go above and beyond to ensure our success. And so we would like to acknowledge 2 of them today. Jessie Young, who taught our journal club, or TA'd our journal club and taught our qualifying exam prep class, and Ashvini, who graduates today and TA'd our physiology class. If it wasn't for your tremendous dedication and just how you really go above and beyond for the students, we wouldn't be where we are today. So we really want to thank you, and congratulations to all the graduates.
Congratulations, Ashvini and Jessie. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Natalie Pinkowski. She'll be presenting the 2018 cohort.
Hi, this is Natalie, the 2018 cohort representative. This last year was my cohort's 2nd year in the program, and we have been able to achieve great things, such as more than 10 grants and scholarships totaling over $75,000 towards our science. We are involved in more than 15 published papers, attended and participated in over 65 conferences, events, and research days. We've presented at over 40 of those conferences, events, and research days. We have assisted undergraduates, high school students, and middle school students in ways such as judging state science fairs and STEM fairs, being involved in the undergraduate pipeline network, and presentations for public health awareness, to name a few. We also volunteered for student-led Protect New Mexico, and I would like to give a special shout out to those in my cohort who played an integral role in the collection of local resources during the SARS-CoV-2 pandemic this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie. Now I want to introduce Lucy Shelinkova. She'll present the accomplishments of the 2017 cohort.
Hi everyone, my name is Lucy and I'm a 4th year student in Dr. Chikarian's lab, and I'm really happy today to be giving this little shout out to the 2017 cohort. It's hard to believe that we are all starting our 4th year together. So in the last year, the 2017 cohort has gotten 8 travel awards totaling around $13,000. We've gotten 5 grants and scholarships totaling more than $40,000. We've been involved in publishing 10 papers and attended around 50 conferences, events, and research days, and presented 35 times at these events. We're also actively involved in many different organizations and volunteer at organizations such as the Albuquerque Crime Lab, Albuquerque Healthcare for the Homeless, or mentor undergraduate students in the Undergraduate Pipeline Network, and help with judging science fairs at high schools around the state. So I'm really proud of my cohort, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to brag a little bit today about our accomplishments at this ceremony. So again, congratulations to the class of 2020, and thank you.
Thank you, Lucy. So now I'd like to introduce Lindsay Bulk. She'll be introducing the 2016 cohort.
First, I would like to say that it is my great honor to be representing the 2016 cohort. Before I discuss accomplishments, I would like to share a brief story on how my cohort influenced my transition to graduate school. Joining the Biomedical Sciences graduate program here at UNM was a drastic change for me. I drove across country and left everything I knew and held dear to me behind in Vermont. I certainly felt out of place in a land so different from where I grew up, but at the same time it was exciting, a new adventure. My feelings of displacement dissipated as I began the program and grew to know my cohort. Prior to graduate school, I had never truly felt like I belonged to a group. I've always been somewhat of an introvert. However, the incredibly welcoming, diverse, and talented individuals of my cohort changed that for me. There are so many wonderful memories I have of surviving the first year with my cohort. The friendships I developed, I cherish to this day. It is that sense of camaraderie that will help us get through these difficult times. We have to remember that we're in it together and to support each other. And with that in mind, I would like to give Dr. Henning DeMay my sincerest congratulations for being an outstanding scientist and completing the PhD component of his MD PhD program. I wish him the best of luck in his future endeavors. For the year of 2019, the 2016 cohort has acquired over $2,000 of travel awards, participated in over 30 conferences and events in several states, contributed to more than 4 publications and an interview with local news regarding Alzheimer's disease, and has aided in COVID-19 research and testing. Also, Jessica Begay received her master's degree and will now be pursuing her PhD in the Biomedical Sciences graduate program. I am immensely proud to be part of this amazing cohort and look forward to our accomplishments over the next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay. That was great. Now I'd like to introduce Melanie Rivera. She'll be presenting the 2017 cohort. Sorry, 2015.
Hi, everyone. My name is Melanie Rivera, and I'm honored to present the accomplishments for the 2015 cohort. In the last year, we have received more than 5 travel awards totaling over $5,000, and we have also received over 10 grants and scholarships totaling more than $290,000. This year, my cohort has been involved in over 5 publications, and we have attended more than 50 conferences and research days, allowing us to present and share our research at more than 30 times at these events. We are also actively involved in mentoring undergraduates and young scientists in their research projects, including mentoring students from the UNM Undergraduate Pipeline Network, as well as helping with judging of science fairs and STEM symposiums. So congratulations to the 2015 cohort graduates and all the BSGP graduates. You guys are awesome.
Now I'd like to, thank you, Melanie. That was great. Now I'd like to introduce Adrian Luna. He'll be presenting the 2014 cohort. Adrian, that doesn't look like Adrian. There you go. Good.
Hello, everyone. My name is Adrian Luna. It is my pleasure and honor to introduce the class of 2014 and their accomplishments. Our cohort includes Dr. Janie Ray Bynum, Selena Garcia, Johnny Kenton, Dr. Sebastian Medina, Dr. Richard Pepperman, and Leah Weston, and myself. Over the last several years, our effort and work has resulted in us receiving several prestigious grants, such as the Brain and Behavioral Health Institute grant, UNM Comprehensive Cancer Center Student Matching Support Grant, Alcohol, Substance Abuse and Addiction T32 Training Grant, the Infectious Disease and Inflammation T32 Training Grant, and we have been awarded F31 Ruth L. Christian National Service Awards. In total, the monetary value of the grants awards received by the 2014 cohort exceeds over $150,000 for the 2019-2020 school year. Additionally, the 2014 cohort has been heavily involved in our program, not just as scientists, but as leaders and educators. We've trained many budding scientists, served as teaching assistants and guest lecturers in various courses, which serves as biomedical science graduate student society presidents, treasurers, budding steering committee members, HCC council representatives, planning committee, and as ambassadors for the Research and Education Office. Our work has been presented at local, national, and international meetings and has resulted in several peer-reviewed publications in journals such as PLOS ONE, Frontier Immunology, Neurobiology of Learning and Memory, Steroids, Toxicology Letters, and others. Congratulations, class of 2014, we did it.
Thank you, Adrian. Congratulations to all the cohorts. It is now my pleasure to introduce our alumni speaker, Dr. Susan Krasinski Maika. She was selected by our 2020 graduates to give the alumni speech. Susan Krasinski Maya is a PhD, grew up in New Jersey, graduated with a BS in Biotechnology and Animal Science from Cook College at Rutgers University. She obtained her PhD degree from our program, the BSGP program at UNM, under the mentorship of Dr. Paul Maguire. After seminal postdoctoral work in the study of retinal neoangiogenesis with Dr. Arup Das at UNM, and vascular stem cell biology with Dr. Karen Hirschi at Baylor College of Medicine, Dr. Maika was recruited as assistant professor at the University of Colorado and later promoted to associate professor. At CU, she established her research program on lung mesenchymal vascular progenitor cells as regulators of macrovascular function, structure, and homeostasis, receiving funding from American Heart Association, NIH, and Department of Defense. In 2012, she was recruited to Vanderbilt, where she received tenure in 2014. Last year, Dr. Maika was recruited to National Jewish Health as professor of medicine, where she is expanding her study of how the microvasculature and dysregulated angiogenesis contribute to the development or severity of chronic lung diseases. Dr. Maika has served on numerous national and international study sections and has mentored over 20 trainees. She is very happy to be virtually back home in the high desert.
So can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you very much for that kind introduction. And I want to congratulate all the graduates today of the Biomedical Science program and wish you all the possible success in whatever career path you choose. So I was really honored when I received the email from Dean Tom Resta, who actually graduated, I believe, the year before me, to talk to you today. He actually asked me to give an inspirational, talk based on my experiences. And honestly, inspiration comes from within, and all of you and all of the things you're doing for your community and research have inspired me today. So I thought I would talk to you about some anecdotal stories I had and things I've learned over the years that might actually be of use to you at some point in your career. So I want to thank you for sharing your achievement with me and inviting me back to my scientific roots at UNM. I hope that one day, like I do, that you will look back on your time in graduate school with fondness and remember how much fun it was when all you had to do was learn how to do research by working in the lab. You have learned much of what you need to be successful in your careers already being at UNM at graduate school. So when I came to Albuquerque to interview with Dr. Dave Baer in 1992, an American Express card was really a foreign concept. The umbrella program of biomedical sciences training program, however, was really novel and versatile at the time, one of the first in the country. So it was a huge draw for me at UNM because while I loved research and knew I wanted to do research as my career, I really didn't know exactly what I wanted to research. So matriculating that summer to the Southwest, a place so different from my home in New Jersey, was really challenging. But I always felt at home in the lab. And my first rotation was with Tom Williams. And although it began with an OSHA incident report, Tom was the first of many dedicated mentors I was to experience at my time at UNM. And, you know, interestingly, but not surprisingly, that is the only rotation that I remember. So I really don't remember when I met and how I came to rotate in Paul McGuire's lab, but you know, I searched my memory as when I was invited to come back, I thought of a lot of people I haven't thought of in years. And I think I actually scared Paul in an elevator one day when I reached out to say, hey, I'm really interested in the research in your lab, because he was studying cardiac development using a quail model. So being a graduate student in Paul's lab was one of the most impactful periods of my training. It shaped me both as a scientist and a person. So Paul is a very gifted scientist, and he trained me, and I was his first graduate student, with kindness and immeasurable patience, which I think all mentors really have, especially the ones I've met at UNM. So after having students myself, I would periodically email Paul and actually apologize for what a challenge I must have been, you know, in my early 20s in his lab. And to not kid anybody, I'm still a huge challenge to most people. So, you know, Paul taught by example, working in the lab as a PI, as well as being a well-rounded person. And it's one of the things I really love about UNM. I spent Thanksgivings with his family and actually met my husband playing adult co-ed rec league soccer with he and his family. And it was exactly 25 years ago. And I still so appreciate all the supportive faculty, staff, and students I had the pleasure of being trained by and working with while I was at UNM. I remember thinking about the last hurdle of my graduate career being deciding with Paul when the last committee meeting would be scheduled to be granted approval to write and graduate. You know, at the time that was huge, or so I thought. And so then came my dissertation. And so writing today is such a simple task for you guys, but then I can tell you when I wrote my dissertation, I wrote it on a Mac Classic, which was about this big. It was an all-in-one computer that fit in your backpack, and I could only open one section of my dissertation at a time. And I actually found it. Oh, you can't, oh, here it is on a floppy disk, which is probably now vintage. And so I also printed a lot of figures from photo negatives in the basement darkroom, and along with some skiing pictures from Crested Butte. Then after the dissertation was printed on a dot matrix printer, we actually had to tape all the figures in, and then I really did have to measure the margins. So also for my dissertation and my defense, I had to make 35mm slides for the projector, which is apparently now known as vintage because I actually checked the slides on Google. So making these slides without being able to edit them at the last minute was a true test of time management skills. So as a postdoc, you'll work long hours, but are hopefully efficient in your experiments and publications because you learn that in graduate school. So time management skills are very key to a successful postdoc and being able to have a life outside the lab. Although when you're a postdoc, that's pretty small. So my love for research balanced with my family life and my supportive partner has really been key for me to continue to achieve academic success over the years. And if my husband was here, he would be laughing to think that my life is balanced, but it's really all relative. So because these are the most important parts of my life, they're continually re-ranked in terms of priority. And so when my daughter was about 3, she stuck Post-it notes all over the kitchen. And I was like, what are you doing? And she said, quiet, Mom, I'm working. And I thought, oh, that was, you know, not a great parenting moment, but, you know, it continues on to this day. If you guys could see the office I'm sitting in, it's got Post-it notes everywhere. But early on, my girls did ask me why I didn't pick them up from school with all the other mommies. So I started to involve them in what I do, my other love, and what it was like to be a scientist. I taught classes of stem cell biology at night, because it's a love, and I really believe in educating the general public. And later, when I would lecture to some of my former students, honors high school biology classes, my girls would run the slideshows in the classes. I've included them in my work, from visits to the lab on the weekends to check on cells, and most recently teaching them how to use the microscope. Free labor doesn't hurt anybody. So involving them in my research has given them an understanding of why I do research and teaching, and they have learned work ethic and dedication. They're a large part of my support system and success. And I move into, you guys talked about your cohorts, which I didn't have when I was in graduate school, and it really sounds fantastic. A support system, both in and outside of work, is a great place to lean when you receive grant scores, no score, or the worst that I feel is, your career is reading reviewer comments on your grants and sometimes manuscripts. But developing coping strategies is key as well. For example, I may be known to skip reading reviewer comments pertaining to funded grants. I really don't ever open ERA Commons to look at NIH grant scores or comments on Fridays. I usually leave it to Monday, maybe Tuesday. So when you combine typical work setbacks and trying to keep up with, when you have a family, other kids' helicopter parents, all the volunteer options while your kids are in school, you have full-time job number 2. And it's so overwhelming and way too challenging. And so after a while, I just decided not to try and keep up anymore. And I remember going to a kindergarten science teacher and saying, like, I don't want to leave the lab to come sharpen pencils. So you can volunteer to talk about science in schools, which it sounds like you guys already do, with pictures of GFP mice, fish, and other creatures. I've isolated genomic DNA from strawberries because they have so much DNA, or doing experiments in kindergarten science. The kids get so excited, and it's completely upside opposed to hours of sharpening pencils and making photocopies. And the funniest thing that I can remember about that is the kids think the glowing mice and fish are cool. My kids are actually proud of me sometimes. And I would also see kids in the grocery store, and they would point at me and say, like, Mom, that's who blew up the corks with us. We left a lot of dents in some of the ceilings of their classrooms. So being able to understand the efficiency and impact of your time is also key to being productive as a postdoc, as well as career and parenting as a scientist. So it sounds like many of you, like me, find success in the enthusiasm of trainees and then kids that you might work with. I cherish every card and thank you note I've ever received for showing pictures of glowing mice and fish to middle schoolers, or the kindies for teaching them science. And it's so nice to see them excited about experiments while judging science fair projects. I still do all of those things because it's just really fun and it inspires the next generation. It also helps to find success in the smallest victories. For example, a manuscript that receives a decision of major revision rather than rejection. I always look at that as a win. Also, celebrating your colleagues' success, as you are doing with your cohorts, and inviting others to celebrate with you. If you don't have those connections, it can be very lonely. And so those connections are really important to keep you motivated and moving forward sometimes. Nurture relationship with supportive peers and ask for guidance from senior faculty and administrators, because you can find mentors and support anywhere. And now online, nothing is too far away. The desire to question dogma and understand processes is a personality trait characteristic of STEM professionals, can be challenging to others, to say the least, but the core of my being is scientist, so I never stop questioning, learning, or teaching. I'd say don't apologize for it, channel it appropriately, and I would suggest leadership training. Actually, it's very helpful. At UNM, I never felt limited at all about really almost anything I wanted to do. I learned how to teach there. I participated in teaching medical students as a postdoc. I never felt limited as a young trainee or a woman. And that really changed after I moved away to continue my training and grow my career. And it continues to this day. I mean, seriously, other professionals still ask me who I work for. I don't know if you can tell, but I have a lot of gray hair and I am middle-aged. And so it always surprises me, but there are things you just learn how to just deal with because it is what it is. I've been told that successful PIs don't work in the lab or go into the animal room. However, my favorite PIs work in the lab. And Pippa Merrick, who I'm fortunate to work with at National Jewish, she discovered T-cell receptor, is a National Academy member and HHMI. And at 80 years young, she still does animal experiments in the lab really well. So for me, what I can say is ignorant comments are received with a polite smile. Took years to get to that point though. And the snappy responses are best served for my active internal dialogue, which is one of my coping mechanisms. When my daughter was asked in middle school, why are you in advanced math? She asked me, why would someone think I wasn't smart enough? So I told her what it took me time to learn, that you can't change the way other people think. So focus on being the best that you can at whatever you want to do. If you enjoy the bench work, you work in the lab. If you enjoy writing and editing, you become an editor. What I can tell anybody who's interested to ask is know who you are, know what you want to achieve, and do it. Because only you truly know what you can accomplish. So you'll have different challenges to overcome in your careers, and the only advice I can offer is to try and enjoy what you spend your time doing on a daily basis. Few things in life are permanent, especially grant funding, and an experience is always a win if you can learn something from it. It's really amazing to me how quickly the years have gone by, and one of the things that hasn't changed in my life is my love for science and research. So always try and tap into your passions for the path that you choose, and you'll find your place. It may take time and the place might change, but you should know who you are and what you want to accomplish with your life, and then define your own success. I want to say thank you again for your invitation to share this wonderful day with you and your accomplishments, and heartfelt congratulations to the class of 2020.
Thank you, Dr. Micah, for your words of wisdom. It was really nice and touching speech. So I'd like now to introduce the class speaker, Dr. Jason Schoiner. Jason was selected by our 2020 graduates to deliver this year's commencement address. Jason entered the UNM BSGP program with the class of 2015 after receiving his dual bachelor master's degree in biotechnology from the University of Nevada, Reno, and has spent 5 years under the mentorship of Dr. Pam Hall, studying virus-like particle-based vaccines targeted against Staphylococcus aureus. Jason successfully defended his PhD in June 2020 and began working as a postdoctoral research fellow in the Infectious Disease and Vaccines Division at Merck in West Point, Pennsylvania in August this year, investigating vaccine responsiveness in the young and elderly. Congratulations, Jason.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Gonzalez-Bosque. And can you hear me well? Okay, great. Okay, so I would like to begin by thanking the School of Medicine Research Education Office, specifically Tara Hackle and Lisa Kirk, who've done so much work behind the scenes, as well as the Biomedical Sciences Graduate Student Society and the Graduation Organizing Committee, and everyone else who had a role in organizing today's ceremony. So after the initial delay in graduation, the ceremony was not guaranteed, but they came together and made it happen for us, and I'm really appreciative of that. I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the director of the BSGP for the majority of my time at UNM, Dr. Nancy Carnegie, who's been mentioned several times throughout the ceremony, who this March had been given the single greatest surprise challenge in the history of our program with the COVID-19 pandemic, but handled the situation with such dignity and masterful flexibility, keeping students safe and informed to the rapidly evolving situations. And I wish those who inherited the role from Dr. Carnegie, Drs. Gonzalez-Bosque and Dr. Resta, all the best as they have been given just as difficult a path ahead. Next, I would like to thank my classmates who I have grown so fond of at my time in Albuquerque for nominating me to give this year's commencement address. I promise I will do my best to represent the BSGP graduating class of 2020 with eloquence and grace, but for anyone who doesn't enjoy today's commencement address, you can blame them too. Finally, thank you to everyone else, faculty, students, family, and friends in attendance for showing your support today. As stated previously, my name is Jason Joyner, and in 2015, I arrived on campus along with 13 others, each of us with very different backgrounds in education, experience, and cultures, each about to embark on our own unique BSGP journey. For the last several years, we each spent our time here at UNM learning new laboratory techniques, refining our critical thinking and professional skills, forming new friendships, and expanding our networks, and more recently, becoming experts in operating Zoom. I enjoy spending these last 5 years learning all these skills under the mentorship of Dr. Pam Hall, and I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunities that I've been given. There's so much that I've learned while working towards my PhD at UNM. And if there are any graduate students not yet at the finish line in the audience today, please let me share some advice from the things that I've learned along the way. First, be patient with your research. Sometimes results come quickly, but more often than not, things don't work out the way that we expect them to. Something that I've learned from personal experience is if an experiment works flawlessly the first time, maybe think twice before you start to believe it's true. But importantly, don't lose hope. Instead, stick with it, because more can be learned through troubleshooting your way through a failed experiment than a successful one. Sticking it out makes us more resilient. Sticking it out makes us more resilient, which makes a better scientist. My second piece of advice is this: be curious and ask questions, especially when you don't understand something. No one thinks less of you for what you don't know. However, they will when they find out that you've claimed to know something that you don't. Asking questions shows that you're thinking, so always ask more. My last piece of advice is this: be proactive when making new friends and talk to people. Your graduate school cohort is your first professional network, and everyone will go on to do great things. By making friends and meeting people, you're creating a lifelong network that will benefit you far into the future. And by talking to people and sharing your ideas with them, you grow as a communicator as well. I often remind myself to follow these 3 pieces of advice: be resilient, ask questions, and make friends. I remind myself of these things not just because they make me a better scientist, but a better person as well. And we can all agree that the world needs more of that right now. Now, I would like to talk directly to the graduating class. So I might not speak for everyone, but I thought incorrectly that this ongoing once-in-a-lifetime pandemic might be the uniting factor that we could finally use to finally increase the much-needed attention to health sciences. Yet, based on the frequency of misinformation spread on social media and the growth of movements against fundamental public health measures put in place for everyone's benefit and well-being, suggested that I was wrong. It seems to be everywhere, but it can sometimes be deeply troubling and even frightening. Even sometimes I've personally felt a creeping sense of despair. It seems scientific illiteracy has run amok everywhere you look, but we cannot let this discourage us. We need science now more than ever, and with that, we need science literacy. We need more people who understand the fundamental basic principles of research. Class of 2020, who better than us to provide this great help? Whether you're going into academia, industry, government, or elsewhere, we all have a role to play in becoming the best possible communicators that we can be, being aware of research in our fields and sharing it with those around us in an understandable way, as well as conveying exactly why it's important. And just like we need science now more than ever, science needs us. The greatest feats ever accomplished by humanity have all been through science. We know this because this is exactly why we wanted to pursue our doctorates or our master's degrees in biomedical sciences. In these times, it feels as though science itself is under attack, and it is our job to protect it. And we will protect it by performing rigorous research to the highest ethical standards, by being curious and not being afraid to ask the tough questions because it's hard. We won't cut corners, and we will not compromise our integrity by bowing down to outside influences. It is imperative that each and every one of us becomes an expert communicator, and that we learn to effectively and coherently explain exactly why our research matters and why it deserves to be funded. Because if we, as scientists, don't stand up for science, who will? And class of 2020, who better to defend science than us? I don't have to remind you what we've gone through. We've gone through challenges unlike any other graduating class before. We know it too well. We've lost months of experiments that could have gone towards additional manuscripts. We've practiced and defended our dissertations, or are preparing to defend them, virtually. And after defending them, we're not even able to celebrate such a momentous occasion in person with friends and family like how we had always imagined. We've had a job search in pandemic-struck job markets. And yet, these are only the challenges that we've faced in the last 6 months. Not to mention, we navigated years of troubleshooting failed experiments, all while staying up to date on mountains of scientific literature. We presented and defended our findings at local, national, and international conferences. We applied for funding, failed, revised, failed again, and revised again. We wrote papers, had our hard work torn to shreds. We then picked up the pieces, performed more hard work, and then resubmitted. On top of all of that, we made it through our graduate level coursework, our qualifying exams, our committee meetings, and finally a defense, culminating in everything we learned in this entire unbelievable journey. The challenges were mounting, but we navigated it successfully. Graduates of the class of 2020, that, by the way, is a title that will follow us for a lifetime. We stayed resilient. We remained curious. We even made some friends along the way. It is of no question that we are the ones for the job. We've poured our time and effort into these biomedical science degrees, so you'll bet that we will do everything that we can to preserve their relevance and integrity. So I wanted to finish today by reminding you of some of the good times. Do you remember back when you could buy hand sanitizer that actually smelled nice? It seemed forever ago, but these days will return when we can sit down in a restaurant or a bar with a group of friends and not have to worry about removing your mask or keeping 6 feet away from the waiter. However, in that post-pandemic moment, the world will have been dramatically different from March 2020. We, too, are dramatically different from when we first entered the biomedical sciences graduate program. It is up to us how we want to apply ourselves and what doors we want to open with our new degrees. Given what we've been through, I know that we can handle whatever the future throws next at us. So thank you for everyone attending today. Stay safe, take care, and BSGP grads of 2020, let's get to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Congratulations. And it was a great words of support for the class of 2020. Finally, the moment that everyone has been waiting for. It is with great pleasure that I introduce our graduates. Our first graduate is Chaislin Ruffner Hanson. She is graduating with her Master's of Science. Her graduation term is the fall. Her thesis title is Exploring Mechanisms of Prenatal Alcohol Exposure Mediated Hypothalamic Pituitary Adrenal Axis Dysregulation. Her mentor, Erin Milligan. She's been tutored by her dad and mom, David and Mary Hanson. Congratulations, Chaislin. Our next graduate is Rebecca Sena. She is also obtaining her Master's of Science. Her graduation term is in this fall of 2020. Her thesis title is the role of HUD, alternative splicing and alternative polyadenylation. She's been hooded by her research mentors, Dr. Nora Perrone Visocero and David Linsberg. Congratulations, Rebecca. Next is Ashbini Baidia. She's also obtaining a Master's of Science. Her graduation term is the summer of 2020. Her thesis title, Developing a Virus-like Particle-Based Vaccine for Neisseria Gonorrhea. Her mentor, Dr. Bryce Chikarian, is hooding her. Congratulations, Ashbini. Next is Stephen Amoa. He is obtaining his PhD. Let's wait for Stephen. Next is Stephen. Let's see. He is obtaining his PhD. There we go. Hi, Stephen. So Stephen, he's graduating with his PhD. His graduation term is spring 2020. The dissertation title, Exosomal Secretion of Psychosis-Altered MicroRNA Regulates Glutamate Receptor Expression, Effects of Antipsychotics and Maternal Immune Activation. His mentor is Dr. Nikolaos Melios. His wife, Eunice Amoa, has hooded him. Congratulations, Stephen.
Yay.
Next is Cristabel de Souza, PhD. Her graduation term is fall 2020. Her dissertation title is the P72R SNP, alters the allelic selection of mutant P53 in human cancer. Her mentor is Dr. Jeremy Chin, and he is hooding her. Congratulations, Cristabel. Nice. All right. Next, Mascan Florin. She's obtaining her PhD. Her graduation term is this fall. The title is The Impact of Tetraspanin CD82 and Acute Myeloid Leukemia Chemosensitivity and Quiescence. Her mentor, Dr. Jennifer Gillette, is hooding her. So, Jen. Nice. Congratulations, Mascan. Nice. Next, Selena Garcia. She's obtaining her PhD. Her graduation term is this fall. The dissertation title is Role of Acid Sensing Ion Channel 1A in the Systemic Circulation. Her research mentor, Dr. Nikki Shernigan, is hooding her. Congratulations, Selena. Great. So Kimberly Gastes, she is graduating with a PhD. The graduation term is this fall. Her dissertation title is Adult Neurogenesis is a Potential Therapeutic Target in Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Disorder. Her research mentor, Dr. Liana Cunningham, is hooding her. Congratulations, Kimberly. Great. So the next is Shawnee Kenton. He obtained his PhD. His graduation term was this summer. The dissertation title is Translation Touches, New Approaches for Modeling and Rescuing Executive Function Deficits After Prenatal Alcohol Exposure. His research mentor is Dr. Jonathan Brigman, and his girlfriend, Mirabai Shun, has just hooded him. Congratulations, Shawnee. Our next graduate is Jason Schoiner. He just give the this year's speech. Great there. Now, okay, so he, as you know, he is obtaining his PhD. His graduation term is this summer, and the dissertation title, Virus-like particle-based vaccines induce neutralizing antibodies against Staphylococcus aureus virulence. His mentor, Dr. Pam Hall, and his spouse, Montserrat Arreguin, is holding him. Congratulations, Jason. Nice. So the next the next graduate is Rihanna Cohort. She is obtaining her PhD. Her graduation term is this summer. Her dissertation title is Sexual Dimorphisms in Innate Host Response to Staphylococcus aureus, Mechanisms Driving Sex Differences in Immune Cell Function and Host-Directed Interventions. Her mentor is Dr. Pam Hall, and she's been tutored by her spouse, Nishal Rimal. Congratulations, Rihanna. Next is Istiak Rashid. He is graduating with a PhD. Okay, now they're better situated. His graduation term is spring of 2020. The dissertation title is Characterizing DNA ligase 3 protein complexes involved in DNA single-strand break repair. His research mentor is Dr. Alan Tompkinson, and he has been hooded by his wife. Congratulations, Istiak. Istiak, yeah. Nice. So our next graduate is Leah Weston. She is obtaining her PhD. Her graduation term is this fall. Her dissertation title is The Role of Interleukin-10 in Alzheimer's Disease Tau Pathology. Her research mentor is Kiran Bhaskar, and you are seeing a picture of Kiran when hooded her before she moved from out of town. Congratulations, Leah. Congratulations. Our next graduate, what's happening? We are losing some. Okay, so our next graduate is Tamara Young. She's graduating with a PhD. Her term is the fall of 2020. Her dissertation title is Multi-Wall Carbon Nanotube, Pulmonary and Systemic Consequences of Inhalation Exposure. Her research mentor, Dr. Matthew Campen, is holding her. Congratulations, Tamara. Our next graduate is Adrian Luna. If we didn't lose him. There you go. Adrian Luna is graduating with a PhD. In his graduation term is the fall of 2020. His dissertation title is MEK-ERK signaling as the nexus of HPV oncogene expression and a therapeutic target for HPV-associated diseases. His research mentor is Michelle Osborne, and he has been hooded by his lab mother and friend, Rosa Tufaro Sterk. Congratulations, Adrian. So let's give a loud round of applause to all of our graduates. Congratulations, class 2020. You did it. Oops. You did it. Okay, so now it is, so we're having, it is now my pleasure to introduce Dr. Tom Resta, Senior Associate Dean of Research Education. He will give the closing remarks and recite the oath of the science. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gonzalez-Bosque. I'm so truly honored and privileged to celebrate with you here today. To the University of New Mexico Biomedical Sciences Graduate Program Class of 2020, we are here to acknowledge your hard work, your perseverance, and your many successes. But even more importantly, your potential of what lies ahead as future scientists, teachers, mentors, and as leaders. I would also like to thank our faculty and staff for their dedication to preparing this new cohort of graduates for whatever challenges lie before them. Graduates, as of this moment, you have become the leaders of tomorrow. Future generations of students will look up to you. Having been trained in the biomedical sciences, you are well prepared to be a leader as you transition to this new stage in your life. You as new scientists have so much to contribute. We need your new ideas, your new energy, and your new passion more now than ever during these unprecedented times. As you leave the University of New Mexico, I implore each of you to never compromise your personal and scientific integrity. Be dissatisfied with anything other than your very best. And finally, be diligent in being a lifelong learner. The degree that has been conferred upon you is not the end of your education, but the beginning. Graduates of the class of 2020, if you please stand back up again. It is now time to move your tassel from the right side of your graduation cap to the left as a symbol of degree conferment. Congratulations to you all. In this, excuse me. Okay, and In this final portion of our ceremony, we will recite the oath of the scientist. This oath is found in our Convocation ceremony program. So will all Doctor of Philosophy degree recipients please recite this oath along with me. I also invite all individuals with PhD degrees listening to this ceremony to follow along with us. By accepting my Doctor of Philosophy degree, I earnestly assert that I will apply my scientific skills and principles to benefit society. I will continue to practice and support a scientific process that is based on logic, intellectual rigor, personal integrity, and an uncompromising respect for truth. I will treat my colleagues' work with respect and objectivity. I will convey these scientific principles in my chosen profession, in mentoring and in public debate. I will seek to increase public understanding of the principles of science and its humanitarian goals. These things I do promise. As we conclude the ceremony, I want to congratulate the Biomedical Sciences Graduate Program Class of 2020 one last time. We, the faculty, know how hard you worked to get here, but this is only the beginning of your professional careers. We are so proud of all of you for your accomplishments, and we look forward to all your future achievements. You are our greatest measure of success, and I have every confidence that you will be our greatest asset in years to come. Before we part, I would also like to thank your family and friends who supported you along the way in your efforts to gain an education. On behalf of the faculty, congratulations on a job well done. Stay connected to our school, your mentors, and your peers. Go out and be your best in everything you do and proudly represent the University of New Mexico. This concludes our ceremony.